wrapped up in my sleeping bag, looking out the window at Aaron's house as the sun is beginning to creep over the horizon. And the trees are silhouetted black against the emerging blue sky with the fading stars up in the sky. And I think to myself how much I hate Aaron because he's got it fucking made with this fantastic house of his, this nice little piece of property tucked away out in the backwoods of South Dakota. God, I fucking hate him. I hope he dies. I hope he dies of syphilis. You piece of shit.
It'll never get old. The great one is the gift that keeps on giving. We got a request. If you have a request, you go to assholeconsulting.com and send it over. Hi, Aaron. One again from Decentering Men and the Economy of Trust videos. So again, a light thinker. Those were not deep at all. And we have a equally shallow request here. Lately, I've recognized a pattern in your videos where you tell your stories of large group of people, teachers, college bros, boomers, feminists, etc., who tell you to do this, do that, but you tell them to fuck off, and down the road, you're always right. Yeah, because before I forget, let me introduce this. There's a few laws, I don't even want to call them laws of economics, but laws of reality. Like you if it sounds too good to be true, it's not true. There's no such thing as a free lunch. These inviolable laws of economics or logic or reality. If anyone tells me something and it violates one of these very few key rules or laws, fuck you, you're wrong. And it's either you're lying to me because you want me to essentially give you money. That's usually one. Or two, you're so galactically naive, you want to believe in a world that violates these laws. Like there's a replicator. We just don't need money, or other on the face of it childish and naive assumptions. But when buried or steeped within a cauldron of, what would you call it, academic pablum, the media and all that, it kind of gets lost. Like, no, let's cut through the chase. People's conversations shouldn't be so long. Like I'll give you another example. In loan committee, back in the banking days, we would, at several banks, not all of them, some banks approve loans by loan committee. So you gather up the other dickless fucknuts and you say, okay, dickless fucknut number. That's what bankers are called nowadays, dickless fucknuts. What do you think about this loan? What do you think? And then you vote. And then I'm the one saying, don't finance it. Well, you're not a team player. We'll fire you if you don't. It's like, no. The guy, it doesn't take that much for me. Guy's got a credit score of 420. No. Guy's got too much debt. No. Cash flow doesn't work. No. And the amount of pablum I heard out of bankers' mouths about rationalizing why we should lend this deadbeat money. And so it's not insight. It's just the lack of patience to tolerate bullshit. Maybe I don't believe in the easy way out. I don't believe in the free lunch. I know there's no such thing as a free lunch. We got 3 generations of adults now who've lived off of bailouts and government bailouts and student loans and government borrowing. They still actually, you got women my age, pushing 50, who still think their master's degree in English is worth something. They still believe. Some of them even believe that there's a man coming to marry them at 50 years old when their eggs dried out back when Obama was president. So I don't know. And for the most part, American society has lied to me most of my life, and I'm sick and fucking tired of it. So I guess it's impatience. It's not intelligence or insight or philosophy. That got me thinking, why do people make stupid decisions en masse and never think for themselves? I really started questioning this after watching a liberal hive mind video, linked below. After watching similar videos, I came across the famous propagandist, public relations expert, Edward Bernays, nephew of psychologist Sigmund Freud. I watched both of those video documentaries. They were interesting. There's good propaganda. Brush your teeth, exercise, spend less than you make, and even more bad propaganda. Money, heart, follow, any degree is a good degree. McMansion pickup truck. Pickup truck. You forgot socialism. The biggest propaganda is like, you can have something for nothing. That's it. That's the biggest lie ever. You don't have to work. That's it. That's the biggest lie. Therefore, it's good to recognize that you're being propagandized, whether to your benefit or detriment. The authors, advertisers, leftist conservatives create the message, and society enforces it for them. Because we are surrounded by marketing and we're mentally lazy, how can we live with intention in all of our actions? Fish can't recognize that they are wet because they don't have the perspective from the outside of the water. The economy grew in part because people bought a bunch of stuff which they can't afford or don't need, but they can't control the purchases and ruin their lives because they don't live with intention. I would like you to watch both videos down below, watch them 2 times and provide a video response to correlate that with your life experience of people pushing narratives and propaganda on you. All right, so the video one was, what was the first one? The second one was the Edward Bernays guy and how he very cleverly convinced Americans that from starting with materialism, starting in the Roaring 20s. The other, what the hell was the other one? The other one, oh, that a podcaster noticed he did a search trend of different terms used by the media, such as white privilege, institutional racism, things like that. All buzzwords that jumped up in 2012 and have increased since then. And his theory that it wasn't natural. It was by design. Someone was pushing it. So those are the two videos. But let me go to your specific questions. How can we live with intention of all of our actions? Fish can't recognize that we are wet because they don't. There's good. Recognize that you're being propagandized to whether to your benefit or detriment. There was a specific question. Why do people make stupid decisions in mass and never think for themselves? I really started questioning after watching Liberal Hyman. All right, so you're saying, why don't people make decisions living with intention, thinking of your own self-interest, not in a greedy way, but really, what do I want in society? What are the parameters? What do I set as values? I think that would almost be kind of the fundamental thing. That's what propagandists, especially Bernays, was talking about, where why do I need multiple cars? I just need one. And he had the idea of new cars and creating demand where there was none, which you have to change your value system. And what you're saying is, if people are so susceptible to propaganda, lies, marketing, whatever else, something that's not in their best interest, how do they then make the best decisions that are truly in their interest if they don't even know what their true best interests are? Or they've been hoodwinked into thinking that their best interests are something that's actually not in their basic universal long-term human interests: loves, freedom, happiness, contentment, escaping poverty. I'd be one of them. And so there's really only two ways that you could get people. I'll explain why do they never think for themselves, but I'll explain how propaganda and lies essentially can find a home in people's mind. All right. The only way you can prevent it, I'm going to say this again. I don't know if this is a repeat theme, but I just did an article about some sick fuckos out in South Dakota that drove all the way from Edgemont, South Dakota, which is the west side of the state, to Indiana, the state, to kidnap an 11-year-old girl that they were sexting over the internet with. Okay. Now, you say, what's an 11-year-old doing on the internet sexting full-grown adults in South Dakota? What's an 11-year-old girl doing with a cell phone? Well, guess what? When they interviewed the mom, the father was not available for comment. And I want to see this I want to see this culture. I want to see this Western civilization. I'd love to see how it's going to go for you guys in the next 20 years without fathers. You need dads. You need fathers, and not the fuckwit pussy wonders we got now. Well, whatever you want to. Oh my goodness, don't divorce. No, we need fucking Gregory Peck from the Guns of Navarone, fucking fire and brimstone pastor, no fucking joke men to be fathers again. And so who have to deal with reality, who are ultimately responsible for their children and in times past their wives, but ultimately responsible for the family. So that when little Billy goes to school and says, hey, Dad, Joey Johnson, Eddie Haskell was always the bane of the existence of Ward Cleaver. Always trying to get Wally and the Beav into trouble. But modernly in my day, it was like, hey, kids, hey, you want to get drunk? Hey, you want to do some pot? Hey, you want to do drugs? And that was bad enough as a young kid. Now it's like, hey, you want to cut off your junk? You'll be popular. You'll be a transsexual. And you won't have to like work or anything or be good at sports. I don't know, develop a personality. No, just identify as the sexual thing. You'll be edgy and cool. You'll be like the goth chick from the 90s who wore nylon and fishnet shit. And on her arm, she was really edgy, right? You never remember Winona Ryder, right? Go look at some propaganda. You want to talk about, I know it was a side tangent. You want to talk about propaganda? Propaganda in the 90s, the best bit of propaganda was trying to tell us that Winona Ryder was hot. Go fuck yourself. Selma fucking Hayek. Selma fucking Hayek. Not related to The Economist, but one could hope. You need fathers to instill reality in your children. Because, yeah, there's people out there that are going to lie. There's people going to tell you all sorts of propaganda. You need participating fathers, not you pussy. Not modern day American fathers, real fathers. Like the fathers that would find out if the daughter was sexting people would drive out to South Dakota and kill these assholes. Not in Minecraft. We don't advocate violence, especially against people who try to do things to little children. That would be too risky to advocate on YouTube. Anyway, yeah, you need to be brought up right, or some kind of. You must be brought up because you start off as an infant. You don't have. Oh, geez, am I being propagandized to consume the Gerber baby food? Pampers. Is Pampers really in my best interest right now? But you start off as an infant and kids grow up, they're blank computer screens. They need to have an operating system put on. They need to have a value system put on. That's where nuclear families and a mother and a father would come in, especially your dad. But since some mean, hate-filled, miserable women called feminists starting in the 60s, they've decided they don't need fathers. And they've replaced them with the, again, fuckwit pussies we have today. You do whatever you want, dear. Okay, I'll get a third mortgage on the house to pay for your master's degree in education. What do you mean you're going to be a flight attendant? I know someone like that. I'm like, holy fuck. What? What? You could have retired on that money. Can't tell little princess no. She might cry, and then your wife would divorce you. Pussies, P-U-S-Y, American fathers, you don't even try. All right, so you needed your dads. And without that, that's not there. And the other thing that, well, I guess there's a third thing, but the second thing is we don't let people starve anymore. Fine, your dad was around. Your dad was a true deadbeat. He left. Well, okay, fine. You might have some rough starts there, but reality would kick your ass very quickly about how the real world worked, and you gain street smarts. It would also, by way, make you poor, so you wouldn't have the money to piss away on dumb shit. And then, so going forward, though, so one of those two rude awakenings would have grounded you into reality and have you come up with an epiphany, an observation, or belief that there's some of these unviolable rules. Don't spend more than you make. No such thing as a free lunch, blah, 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 blah. So then comes a couple things. One, credit spending. I don't know when credit cards started. Lendy's been around forever. But the idea, buy now, pay later, that allowed people to basically, it's not how much money you make, it's how much money can you amass. So banks, credit card companies enabled. They shielded people from the true costs of living. And if you think about it, having all this borrowed money does inflate prices, because if it was Islam, if you were a Muslim and followed the rules, I think some of our Muslim listeners will agree. Yeah, they say it's Sharia law, but they came up with this funny thing. I think it's not a fatwa. They say it's not a loan. Like, this is a Muslim approved means of finding. They don't call it a loan. It's like, that's a loan. You're not supposed to do. Oh no, here it's all right. Oh, okay. It's a Tuesday, right? Yeah, you get it's Lent. It's bankable Tuesdays. But anyway, for the most part, you are not to have debt. So what would happen to prices if you can't borrow $400,000 for a house? Prices come. What would happen to tuition if people weren't borrowing $120,000 for a joke of a degree? But we allow for that. I mean, I don't know how much. I mean, trillions of dollars. Well, consumer spending consumer debt hit $1 trillion. I don't even know what the mortgage market debt is, but then you use home equity lines. So anyway, with borrowing, we have enabled people to avoid any of these harsh realities, right? Because you just borrow and get out, and then you can file for bankruptcy too sometimes, and you never suffer the problem, you never suffer the consequence. So you're just equally duped. All right, is there a scenario where Becky majored in early childhood education? Becky meets Biff, the horny jock. They get married. Becky has her $70,000 of student loan debt paid off by Biff. Does Becky say, "Oh my God, thank God Biff come on and bailed me out"? No, Becky's out spending more credit card money, getting a Range Rover. The car. They don't learn. So lending, credit, debt, and bailouts inevitably, yeah, that prevents people from ever getting street smart enough not to be subjected to propaganda. And then the other thing is, as always, the welfare state. You need to make mistakes, and not even need to make mistakes. You need to suffer and be poor so you know exactly what it takes to live in the real world, what it takes to build to survive, what it takes in terms of fiscal discipline, what you have to discern what you do and do not need. I remember 25-cent day-old bread. You go get that. You can't brownberry bread. I remember brownberry bread. Oh, that was the fancy bread. Brownberry bread. Don't even know if they make it. That had grains and nuts in it. Ooh, brownberry bread. No Big Mike Super Sub. 25-cent old day. You just you learned that's what you could afford. You knew that's what it took to survive. So when someone said, "Hey, you could get a foot-long sub for 25 cents down over that," you know it was bullshit. You wouldn't even waste your time. Even if the propaganda was good, like, look at how nice and beautiful this hot pizza. I don't have the money for the pizza because I don't have mom and dad or the government bailing me out. It's all me. Or charities. That's another. Well, look at the homeless. They think somewhere in their future, there's a world where they're not going to be poor, miserable, and hungry. And they don't have to work. Well, where would they get that stupid idea? Well, what do you call nonprofits? Nonprofits is a form of propaganda. Well, you just have troubles, or you got a mental disability, you got drug problems. Here's some food. We'll keep you alive a little bit longer to keep your hope up. Well, we'll give you a little bit of house. Here's some clothes. Here's here. You just do it. Someday those evil capitalists will get there, and then we'll have a just and fair society where you don't have to work. They're not, in a sense, they are propagandized to believe that, oh yeah, some days is all just going to turn around. So whether that charity is a welfare state with an outright bailout for people that make mistakes, could be a literal bailout like bankers. I mean, how many of these bankers learned their lesson? They probably kept on doing their criminal shit. Apparently no one's learning their lesson about student loans and worthless degrees. So there's too many things in the way to give people the hard knocks in the world for them to get the street smarts to not be bullshitted. Like, who do you think's easier to hoodwink? Let's take Tyrone. All right, let's do the stereotype. Tyrone grew up piss poor in the projects and dealt drugs to not necessarily get by or survive, but just to make money, be popular and all that. All right, he's dealing drugs. That is an unregulated market. There's no government bailouts. As a matter of fact, the government kind of looks down upon and arrests you. You have to be incredibly real about human nature and reality and who's lying to you and who's telling you the truth. You know, if you want, watch American Gangster. That is a great movie. I know it's the 70s. But let's just, okay, so that's Tyrone. Now let's take Larissa. That's so pretty. Spoiled suburbanite girl in the suburbs who just everyone tells her lies because her parents don't want to deal with her crying. Dad doesn't want to upset Princess, and every guy wants to fuck her. Who do you think could be taken? I mean, physically, but duped. Who do you think could be a sucker for propaganda? If Tyrone, now keep in mind, you can't be using your own product. I'm talking a savvy drug dealer, all right, with genuine street smarts, right? Kind of like the character that Denzel Washington played in American Gangster. That guy can't get duped, or it's a lot harder to dupe that guy because he's close to reality. He's suffered. Trisha, you could sell her a doctorate in library science. You could convince her that she's brave and amazing when she's done nothing but consume other people's money. And so when it comes to selling someone, hey, do you want to get fancy Mercedes, one of them fancy safari Mercedes, right? The one, with the boxy, right? Who are you going to get to buy what is, in all honesty, a way over-engineered, overpriced piece of shit? One of them Mercedes, it's like, I think it's an AMG, they're like 200,000. Larissa or Tyrone? Tyrone's going to look at that and say, if I drive that thing around, well, I might get stolen, I'll get shot. The feds will know something's up. Like if he keeps his money hidden away. He doesn't drive fancy shit. All right. But you could get Larissa to buy that like that. Painted pink. Ah, I saw it on Barbie. One lived in the real world. The other one has just been shielded from the real world their entire lives. So having fathers and having to live in the real world, that's how you prevent people from falling for propaganda. They have to know the economic realities of surviving in the real world without help. The second you put help in there, you cut off that lesson, you end that lesson, you make that lesson not learnable. Don't even get me started about what the fucking public school teachers and college professors teach kids today, but you deserve everything. All right, so right off the bat, you don't have fathers. You don't have any real world. No one faces the real world. We're like, oh my God, we're a bunch of Scandinavians now. Everything's free. What do you mean people are invading? What if we hugged them a little more, gave them more welfare? Would that make them stop rioting? No one really suffers. And you feed them full of bullshit. Like you're entitled to this. You're entitled to that. Movies and I'm saying go back to when you're a little kid. Like what was put in your brain or your mind. It's not even necessarily your fault. Like, oh, you're entitled to this. You girls are all going to get your Disney prince, and he'll be a Democrat but be a billionaire. He'll be like Christian Grey, but he'll be a Democrat. So no, you're entitled to that. So they get starting very young. You get these expectations that have no grounding in reality, and no one corrects you. Because your dad ain't around. If you do have your parents and your dad's around, everyone's too much of a pussy to say, get off your fucking ass and get a job. No, you're not going to major in that stupid shit. So there's where your fertile ground for propaganda comes in. And the other thing, universally speaking, and this you could sell to the masses, that you don't have to work. And that applied to the propaganda in the 20s, or the advertising, as it were, with Edward Bernays, where understand how laziness is at the core of everything, where he convinced, what was it? Men should get more than one car, and a luxury car and the sports car. That all started in the 20s. How did he do that? He says, well, you don't have to work. You don't have to actually work on yourself, like to be a cool man or an interesting character or lift weight. No, you go buy that car. That's cool. Women with the same thing of fashion. Oh, you girls can put this hat, the feather on this side. That's what they're doing in 1920. And 1930, they had a hair. Now it's a pink feather. It goes on the left side. You don't want to be out of fashion. But if you buy the cold shoulder dress, look it up. It was a fucking thing 4 years ago. You get that cold shoulder dress. Oh, you'll be really cool with the girls. I will. Yeah. You don't have to work. You don't have to be interesting. You don't have to be hardworking. You don't have to be self-supporting. You have to have any morals. You don't have any integrity. You don't have to. You just have to get the thing. Don't work on yourself. Just buy that thing over there. Then you're cool. And like, oh, and it kind of becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy. You especially saw this in the 80s, especially in school. One kid got the cool shirt. Oh my God, I got to get the cool shirt. So equally worthless and vapid people confirming, oh, I got that shirt. We're really cool. We got this brand. Meanwhile, it's just a bunch. Well, I mean, you're whatever, middle school kids. They're not contributors to society. They're kids. But their values are completely hoodwinked. Like, sorry, Roll is going to hate this. 80s hairband, go fuck yourself. Holy AstroTurf, Batman. Guns N' Roses. Where do we go now? Where do we go? The most lost band in all of the history of bands. They didn't know where they were. They had, where do we go now? Where do we go? Where do we go now? Ha 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 ha. Where do we go? Oh, where do we go? I don't care, Axel. Go where the fuck you want. And then they ask a child at the end, sweet child of mine. You're asking a kid for directions now. That, I'm not saying they were bad musicians. They were great musicians. Their music was fucking shit. All of it. All of it. Motley Crue, Iron Maiden. Hey, look, a skull on a shirt. That's really cool, kid. That's cool. One step above believing Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage didn't like each other. I mean, really, what is Santa Claus? You might as well believe in Santa Claus. Oh, grunge is the new thing. Oh, grunge, yeah, Kurt Cocaine. Like, what? Really? So it's ripe. But the laziness, that's what the laziness. It takes effort to know who you are and to live with intention, to find out what you want, to work for it, just to support yourself, to get all those 2 basic levels of Maslow's hierarchy, just to get to the point where you can even ask yourself, well, what do I want to do with my life now? I didn't get to that point until my late 30s. What do I want to do? Finally got the time and the money. What do I want to do? But if you are one, no, not if you are, if one, you have an operating system and a value system that's materialism installed in your brain, you won't ever actually ask yourself, what do I want out of life in terms of non-material things? I mean, a perfect example of being told what you want. Look at every modern American woman today. Master's degree, college debt, car, handbags, $1,000 worth of handbags, $5,000 pair of shoes, the fucking bullshit that was on Sex and the City. That fancy downtown condo, all like that's you want kids? We don't want no. Why do they promote handbags over husband and kids? Because they spend more. There's more profit in handbags than being a stay-at-home mom raising your kids and supporting your husband. They believed it because they're indoctrinated from the youth. That's what their operating system was. So they have a shit operating. Boys are the same, by the way. Sports car, man's jersey, jerk off the sports ball, guys. I do. I will. Oh, NBA, bro. House in Burbs, boat. Need a boat. Truck nuts. You guys are just as fucking stupid. And it's all financed by debt. So you never get out of it. You never get out. I think they do. They want to keep you right above Maslow's second Maslow's hierarchy, right on the board. They don't want you going into the third. They don't want you to start thinking about self-esteem. What do you want spiritually and more out of life? What are your life goals? They want to keep you right there. And I bet by God, by golly, here comes well-endowed Molly. I guarantee you they know to do that with debt. I've seen instances of it where the employer will say, hey, we got a good financing deal for a new car. If you want to get yourself a new car, they just got some fucking deal with the local car dealer. And they know once they sign that car deal and they sign that $500 a month note, they've literally said, we got them. So some people are acutely aware of how you use debt to keep people in a materialist debt cycle. And you never come up for air. You never get up. You're not listening to Stefan Molyneux. You don't have time to sit there and think, hey, wait a minute. What do I want? Like, I want the car, bro, with the girls with the tits. And the girl's like, I want the handbag and the girl boss. I like that Kathleen Kennedy gal. She makes everyone miserable. And so once you got them in debt, I mean, this is just a theory of mine. You don't have to worry. They're not going anywhere. You can't escape the gravitational pull of debt. They're stuck forever. As long as you keep getting them to buy the other stuff, there it is. So what was I trying to answer here? Good propaganda. Therefore, it's good to recognize propaganda with a benefit to detriment. The authors are because we are surrounded by marketing, we're actually mentally lazy. Oh yeah, and keeping that all there is human nature of being lazy, where don't work on yourself, don't improve, don't go to the gym, just buy more shit. One could even make the argument drugs more recently have played a role in this, like antidepressants or recreational drugs. Take this thing, it'll make you happier, it'll make you feel better. Okay. So that on top of debt, I think cements it. But once you're there, once you're in that kind of debt cycle and on the psychotropic drugs or the recreational drugs, it's over. I mean, how many people ever get out of debt? How many people ever get enough money to retire? How many people ever get to the point of it's few. So I don't think you really, unless you had a father, you're a minimalist, you sat and thought about things, or you were brought up dirt poor like Tyrone and had to be street smart. But I think everyone has too much money shoved up their ass, whether it's from a government or parents or the banks and bailing out and not paying back their credit card debts. I think that's where the propaganda comes in. And you never get to the point to ask, well, is getting these $500 pair of cute little leather boots with my white sweater for pumpkin spice girl fall, is that something does that make? No, because you don't know anything else. Because they're surrounded by marketing and we are mentally lazy, how can we live with intention in all of our actions? All right, most of us can't, because most of us are not going to escape this brainwashing system. And like I said, you need a father in real world experience, but you're denied a real world experience because of all the charity financing and all that, and there aren't any men around anymore, right? So that's that would be how we live with it, with intention. But then let's say you're part of the machine. You, like many people, you didn't have a dad present or participating. And also, you know, things are wrong and you're sad and you're miserable and you don't know why. And you're on your antidepressants or your SSRIs or whatever. You need to realize you were like this. And it's going to take a Herculean mind or an exceptionally rare mind to independent mind say, no, something's not right here. And you say, this is, and I don't know why we haven't had a renaissance with the internet pointing shit out. Like Molyneux has talked about this more deeply in philosophy than I have. But at what point do you realize, like, dude, being at home, eating your Doritos, getting level 72 on World of Warcraft or whatever it is, and not going to the gym, when do you realize that makes you miserable? When do you realize being homeless makes you miserable? When do you realize being an overweight 58-year-old spinster who just hates men makes you miserable? When do you realize that? When do you realize the new car, which is no different than the old car that you bought 3 years ago, is not going to make you happy? And I used to think that my generation would be the one of like, whoa, this marriage thing, like, okay, that should be the slap across your face. Do you remember the 70s and the 80s, kids? Remember divorce? That should be the slap across the face. Let's wake up now. No. Cavaricci pants, France Gerbaud Vernet. Oh, the Red Hot. Well, okay, Red Hot Chili Peppers actually were real musicians that had a different sound. Kurt Cobain, Lollapalooza. NBA, we're going to be different than our parents. 30 years later, we're just like our parents. So it's today, especially when it's just given you're going to be propagandized from zero on. I don't know how you get out of it unless you're a truly independent-minded individual. This is why I have such an emphasis on death. Like, wake the fuck up. You're going to die. I guess you want to look at the most propagandized generation to date, although new generations are always coming. It's like, look at the millennials. What percent of millennials are finally voting Republican? I'm not saying that's the sign of you being an independent minded person, but my God, how long do you have to be told to vote Democrat for you to say, hey, wait a second now? Why is it everyone keeps telling me to vote Democrat? And why is it we're just supposed to hate the Republicans? Why are they a Saturday morning cartoon villain? They're still gonna bail on the boomers. How about stop believing the lies and the bullshit, get off your ass, do the opposite of what you were told. They even know we were lied to. Well, wouldn't that indicate you do the opposite of what you were told? Whoa, give up the free shit. Hold on now. Wait a second. Go to the gym, be hot, and have great sex. Orgasms per capita, number one economic idea in the 21st century. So let's see if I missed anything. I apologize for the rambling, but all right. Patterning videos to tell stories got me thinking, why do people make stupid decisions in mass and never think for themselves? Because they were programmed to, and they're lazy. And it takes, now here are the smart people. The smart people are the ones that are marketing, like the Madison Avenue guys, but whoever it is modernly, like the Edward Bernays. They're right. People are sheep. They're fucking stupid. People should be sold toxic shit. You should be sold worthless degrees. You should be sold cars that are overpriced and you don't need. You should be sold $5,000 shoes. So, and they're not, because they're lazy. They just, I get value in buying shoes. So fine. And that's human nature. It's unchangeable human nature. You might as well make profit off of that momentum of lemmings going off the cliff. So that's why they're also enabled. And there's an element, maybe there's psychology that we're herd animals. Go look up the cold shoulder phenomenon. That is the most ridiculous, dumbass female fashion I've ever seen. I'm like, why are the shoulders missing? Girlfriend says, oh, that's the cold shoulder cut. I'm like, what the fuck is the point of it? Oh, I don't know. Neither do they. Cold shoulder. Look it up. Look it up. Bah! Bah! Although, if it's Americans, wouldn't it be a cross between a pig and a sheep? Sheep pig. Oink ba! Oink ba! Give me more food. Pig is beautiful. Oink, oink, oink. Oh, so to get to your conspiracy aspect of this, like, was it purposeful? I think yes and no. All I think that the Bernays guy and advertisers and marketers figured out was the 7 deadly sins of human. Why does sex sell? Why do they put hot chicks up on cigarette makers? Well, because sex sells. I don't think it was this big conspiracy theory. For example, white privilege, institutional rape, all that. That's just lazy people who want to blame others for their mistakes. That could sell like that. I mean, just as quickly as female fashion could come in and out, so too can a political idea or term or jargon, as long as, like virtue signaling, that caught on very quickly as well. I'm sure you'd see a similar, although it was in response to all that. So I just think humans are eternally lazy and they will glom on. Like, why is Vaush popular? Because he advocates what feels good. Why did Andrew Yang have some modicum of success in the Democrat primaries? Because he wanted to give away free shit. The old Bugs Bunny cartoon, free beer, and people show up. Well, it's human nature. So I don't really think it was a conspiracy theory on the part of marketers, propagandists, or whatever. I think they're just like, look at all this water flowing down the stream. Let's put a water mill here. Look at this wind blowing through this valley. Let's put a windmill here. I think they just plugged into human laziness and found a way to capitalize on it. I mean, look at Oprah. I mean, how many examples do you want? You could be a fat, uncaring, self-centered bitch your entire life. And all the women are like, oh my God, Oprah's so amazing. Here's billions of dollars. Oprah's like, wow, okay, thank you. You don't have to read any books. I just summarized them for you. After what you see, so again, I don't believe so much it's propaganda. I think it's just innate human laziness. And that's how all the communist regimes, like, although they a lot of times they're coming off of dictatorial nationalist governments, or in the case of Russia, a feudal system. So I could see. But the idea of communism, like, yeah, everything's free and equal and you don't have to work. Oh, yay. What do you mean work camps? Therefore, it's good to recognize that you're being propagandized to your benefit or detriment. Right. If you have an adult in your life to show you what's in your best interest for it to help you decide. Because we're surrounded by marketing or mentally lazy, how can we live with intention in all of our actions? You actually have to be a human being and be independent minded, or have someone raise you correctly. It has to come from an outside source to effectively defend you from the rest of society, which, given how parents give a shit about the kids nowadays, isn't going to happen. I mean, they're more than happy to ship you off to the schools. And the schools can't wait to propagandize you. They cannot wait. Yeah, so you almost have to be a fish that wants to get out of the water, or have like your dad fish say, "Hey, I was caught once, and there's this whole thing up there called air. Look out for those boats." And no, don't bite the worm. I would like you to watch. The economy grew in part because people bought a bunch of stuff which they can't afford, but they can't control their purchases and ruin their lives because they don't live with intention. Right. I would also, one final thing I'll say, and I would imagine by a certain point in time, the human mind is cemented. Like once you got, I don't know, your religion or your politics or a certain amount of life experiences, like you're just set in your ways. You aren't going to change. And no amount of empirical evidence or data is going to change that. I mean, I got people I know still live in Minneapolis. Oh, the Democrats, we just haven't got enough Democrats yet. Oh, we haven't done enough now. I'm like, why don't you just like donate a kidney while you're at it, man? I mean, what more do you need to do? Can't control the purchases. And so after a certain amount of time, you just have to, like, generations are gone. They're not gonna change their mind. They're not gonna, not until the whole system comes crashing down and all of a sudden you're faced with reality. Like, there's no electricity, but I got a welfare check. There's nothing to buy with it. It's just nothing to buy with it. You'll get shot if you go over there. Yeah, I don't think you can get out of it. I really don't. And it's sad. And now all we got is a bunch of consumerist NPCs that don't live lives. They're not humans. They don't have love. They don't have conversation. God, what gets me is you can even have kids. It's like, you think that would be a biological experience that you were like, oh, I love my children. Nope, ship them right off to daycare in the public schools. Like, wow, okay, I guess that Range Rover is really important. But I don't think unless you're an absolute, truly unique individual, you will not wake yourself up out of it. It takes a very unique individual to say this, like Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell was a Marxist. He was. Look at him. And they said, well, why did you switch from that to free? He says, because communism doesn't work. That's an exceptionally rare individual, exceptionally rare. But most people just unfortunately waste their lives. And then I'm left to conclude Operation Evil with Edward Bernays. Yeah, go make money off of these dumbasses. They're not going to change. Oh, yeah, Ozempic, sure. Here you go. Yeah, just take that. Oh, no, you don't. No. Men are pigs. Men are evil. You should hate men because they don't like fat chicks. Yeah, no, it's not there. It is not biology. It's social conditioning. It's the patriarchy. Whatever. Just buy my book for $15.95. Oh, yeah, you're not stupid. No, if you had a master's degree, then you could tell people you're not. You could prove to them. So the master's degree in African-American studies or journalism, yeah, that's going to be $200,000 in 6 years of your life. Yeah, sign away here. Now, my book costs $300, by the way. There's got to be some professors out there like who literally made their millions, and it's just like, can you believe these dumb kids pay for this shit? And I got my house down here in Florida. So there you go. 6 super chats. Adam Schmidt, $10. During a conversation about your channel, a guy said that the old board game Life used to have a card. you pay 20,000 of someone else's student debt. That would have been a lot in the game of life. I remember playing that in the early 80s. Adam Schmidt again, $5. Just finished your minimalism course. Thank you for your time and great value. Thank you. I'm glad you took it. Yep. Achieving Minimalism, Theory and Practice. Look, guys, if you'd like to look, life is already going to be hard enough the way it is. If you'd like to actually get your finances squared away and not worry about money anymore, consider taking that minimalism course. No, it's not because you didn't get the right interest rate on your car. It's not because of whatever it's because you spend more than you make. There you go. You're materialist. I want this car, bro. No, you don't want that car. So consider taking the minimalism course, Achieving Minimalism, Theory and Practice. Yes, it's $500. No, if it gets you out of debt, it's a great deal. Big George Costanza, $2. Got to see the video of Norm shitting on teachers. Norm from Cheers? Adam Schmidt again, $5. I'm not from the largest town in Ohio, but a conversation came up about red pill channels, including yours. They also knew of Taylor the Fiend? Did they? I presume you mean Taylor the Fiend. Rusty Fuel, $2. I am so shallow. New stuff shiny makes me happy. Yeah, it makes them happy for about 5 minutes, and then it goes away. Horizons, 9,200. Come on, baby, light my fire. God, the Doors sucked. Shelton Tactical, $2, 150,000 at 19 doing sales. Where should I invest? Can't tell you where to invest. What's with everyone asking me where to? I can't provide investment advice. I could give you investment options. You got to evaluate them. And they generally fall into diversified stock portfolio like an S&P 500 index, usually through your 401k or IRA, so you get the tax benefit. Setting aside some money for a down payment on a house. If you'd like to invest in real estate, but you don't want to buy your actual property, you could invest in a real estate investment trust. You should probably have a little bit of crypto in there, a little bit of precious metals. Make sure you pay off all your high interest debt. That's all. That's the only advice I could give you guys, because I'm not telling you specifically what to invest in, how much, and when. I'm just telling you what's on the menu. You need, if you're not comfy making your own decisions or researching it, go hire a financial advisor or planner. All right, that's it. I'll be on with Vlad in about 50 minutes. See you guys later. Toodles.